Welcome to this little village called Untitled with a nice cathedral here in the background. Future me here to intervene a little bit, just cutting the video and I'm noticing what kind of bullshit I was talking. Of course, it's not the city of or the village of Odenthal, it's the city of Altenberg, and this cathedral is called Altenberg Cathedral. So of course I know this, but for some reason I had like a brain fart or something like this. Odenthal is actually a village or a city right next to Altenberg. And Altenberg is famous for its cathedral, but also for its fairy tale woods, which is very popular amongst kids. So yeah, just this as a context and a short like correction of what I was talking there was totally wrong. And this is a perfect location for doing a camera comparison, the Honor Magic 5 Pro against the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So let's get started. It's a typical autumn day. We have a little bit of clouds going on, sometimes the sun showing up here, and we want to check out the camera specs of those two monsters here. Both featuring a triple setup, the Honor Magic 5 Pro triple 50 megapixel setup, if I'm not completely mistaken. Otherwise, you can see the specs there on screen. We have the almost 1-inch size sensor on the Honor Magic 5 Pro and the 48 megapixel main camera sensor on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Both feature a very good ultra wide angle as well as a tele zoom, 3.5 times on the Honor and 5 times on the iPhone. And then we have front facing shooters as well. And I think we start off with the front facing cameras and their video performance. Front facing video with the Honor Magic 5 Pro. What do you think about this one here? We have the possibility, by default it's 0.7 times magnification, to go to 0.8 times, just like this. Almost no difference there. And 1-time magnification. How's HDR? I think we see some clouds there, so it is working. And if I turn around a little bit, let's go to the ultra wide angle, it's overexposing there. There should be blue in the sky. What do you think about this one anyway? 4K 30 frames per second you can record, but with a 50-minute time limit. So a little bit of a bummer, I would say, on Honor Magic 5 Pro. Front-facing video on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And this is a little bit wider, I think, than the 1-times that we had on the Honor. We see a little bit of gray there in the sky as well. What about the blue behind me? Yeah, I think we see a little bit of blue there, so it has better HDR there for sure on the front-facing camera. Otherwise, we don't have a 15-minute time limit, and we can also record 4K 60, which is quite nice. What do you think about the color stabilization here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max? Now the almost 1-inch size sensor on the Honor Magic 5 Pro gives you a nice creamy bokeh, has good HDR. If I turn around, you can see the sun there and the dark clouds probably. And 4K 30 frames per second, we can record with this up to 4K 60 frames per second, but no 8K or anything else like that. Of course, when I'm recording 4K, I can go and switch to the ultra wide angle. Has a nice zoom animation, 0.6 times zoom here. This is the ultra wide angle. What do you think about this one here? I think it's pretty good for vlogging, especially if you want to show a little bit of the beautiful surrounding that you have, like this one here. And of course, if I want to zoom on something, I have the possibility to zoom like to the top of this little church there. Like 4 times zoom and switch lenses to a 3.5 times zoom. That's a bit cropped in. And then I can go up to 10 times zoom, and there you can see I can even go, no, the 10 times the zoom is the maximum here on the Honor Magic 5 Pro. Now the iPhone 15 Pro Max, also a large sensor, but smaller than the Honor Magic 5 Pro. What do you think about this quality here? The background blur especially, and the colors. And of course 4K 30, no time limit. And we can also switch to the ultra wide angle, which is 0.5 times here. And it's ultra wide is also very, very useful for vlogging and such things. And 4K 30 frames per second. You can record up to 4K 60 frames per second, which is the maximum, no 8K recording here. And of course, we can also try the zoom test. So let's go to the same position here. There you can see the church. We can go to 2 times zoom, and then immediately it switches to 5 times zoom. And here I can crop into roughly 10 times now, but I can even go further up to 15 times there. How does this look like? Start with the zoom camera. What we can clearly see here is a bit of a color difference between the Magic 5 Pro and maximum zoom, which is 10 times, and 15 times on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is a bit more bluish. Also, we can see that the Magic 5 Pro is sharpening things up a little bit with a bit more contrast and, yeah, sharpening applied. And when we go a little bit further away, what we can clearly see as well here with the ultra wide angle is that we have much more yellowish kind of face on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and much more contrasty look on the Magic 5 Pro, where my face looks maybe a bit more natural, has a bit more details there as well, but I think they're over sharpening things a little bit to compensate for a weaker lens here on the Magic 5 Pro, where it looks much more natural. It's softer all over the place, but much more natural looking on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And it becomes very clear when I go to the main camera footage, where you can clearly see that the iPhone has a nice rendition of my face as a color. It's a bit more yellowish, yes, for sure, but here it looks simply a little bit wrong on the Magic 5 Pro, where you can see, yeah, that it's getting the color out of my face, which is like, yeah, the background blur is a bit better than on the iPhone, I think. But overall, I think, yeah, this little bit of shadow that's missing here on the Magic 5 Pro would help maybe with the better footage here on the main camera sensor. So overall, main cameras here, the iPhone is clearly winning. When it comes to the selfie cams, we have almost the opposite here, I would say, because we have a little bit like too warm and less contrasty look on the iPhone, where the Magic 5 Pro has a bit more contrasty look, a bit more sharpened up look for sure as well. And I think I like the iPhone 15 Pro Max not so much here with my face. I like the Magic 5 Pro a bit better, even though, let's go to maybe a sharper frame there, even though we have like a little bit more contrast and my face looks a bit white here, but it is a little bit white there because there was no sun the last couple of days. So yeah, when it comes to high dynamic range, however, you can clearly see that here the iPhone 15 Pro Max is winning against the Magic 5 Pro in the selfie camera department. We see a little bit blue here in the background, where he is completely overexposed on the Magic 5 Pro. What I like about the Magic 5 Pro is the exposure on my face, which is nice and even, and it's a bit more shadowy on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So which one would you choose here? I'm leaning towards more the Magic 5 Pro, but I can understand when you want to have the more natural kind of look on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So overall, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the winner in this video comparison. Let's take a look at the photos. On the left, always the iPhone 15 Pro Max. On the right, always the Magic 5 Pro. What we can see on first glance, a much darker picture on the iPhone 15 Pro, where the Magic 5 Pro is lifting up the shadows much more, and the sky looks much more dramatic here on the Magic 5 Pro. But more realistic is the iPhone 15 Pro Max for sure. You can see also that we have a bit more punchy colors here with the blue, but also with the greens there in the background that get a little bit more like of this punch, where here it's like more how I perceived it with my own eyes, I have to say. And you can also see it here that the color here is black actually of this sign here, Küchenhof, where here it appears to be a little bit of blue on the Magic 5 Pro. What we can also see is that it appears that the Magic 5 Pro is a bit sharper. I think it has something to do with sharpening things up. And you can see also like a bit more yellowish here in the spot. So yeah, it appears here that the main sensor of the Magic 5 Pro seems to be a little bit better than on the iPhone in terms of sharpness, even though it is like artificial sharpening most of the time. You can also see it here with the signs. Both have like same kind of moire issues, I would say. And the sharpness here and here is almost the same. But here it looks like that, 24 megapixels, we're a bit closer zoomed in. But it looks like that the iPhone 15 Pro Max has a bit more sharpening applied around the text that you can see there. The Magic 5 Pro, even when we zoom in like a little bit, you can see it's a bit softer when I go to the same kind of zoom level there, for sure, but doesn't have so much sharpening applied. So yeah, I'm a bit confused. So it appears to me that maybe really the Magic 5 Pro has the sharper lens here. It's not only sharpening things up artificially. Let's go into 3.5 times zoom actually, and this is a clear win for the Magic 5 Pro, even though I think the colors are again more accurate on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where here this roof appears to be a bit too bluish on the Magic 5 Pro. Actually, it should have the same color as here, but here it has some kind of blue color for some reason. The sharpness, the detail level is much better than on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which has to utilize the main camera sensor for just cropping in. So yes, the Magic 5 Pro wins here easily with all the little details that you can see there, where it's not there on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But when we go to 5 times zoom, and that's the optical zoom range of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then it is just a complete turnaround the other way around. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has definitely more sharpness, more details there, crispier again. At least it's consistent with the color shift here on the Magic 5 Pro. And we have much more details there on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Also a bit of noise creeping in already on the iPhone, but look at the wall here and look how smoothened out it looks on the Magic 5 Pro. Yeah, it is better at 5 times, of course, optical on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but it's very close. That you can see here, the Magic 5 Pro coming very close, but it's a digital zoom that you can clearly see, and it's an optical one that you can see in the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we have denoising going on the Magic 5 Pro, where the iPhone keeps the noise to have a little bit more detail. So which one do you prefer? I would say Magic 5 Pro in terms of zoom, probably up to 3 times better capabilities there. And beginning from 5 times, the iPhone is probably winning there. And this you can also see here in this shot, which is like 10 times zoom on both. And now compare them with each other. And there it becomes interesting, because I think that the iPhone is winning here, even though it has the more noisy image there. It appears to be a bit more detailed there, and it's just a little bit too much processed on the Magic 5 Pro for my taste, to be completely honest. But yeah, they're getting closer there, because I think the iPhone 15 Pro Max is not doing a good enough job as the Magic 5 Pro is doing, from the 3.5 to 5 times zoom, doing it like digitally, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max at 10 times, it's not doing such a good job as the Magic 5 Pro in this regard, but still, because of the optics being at 5 times, it's a bit better. Ultra wide angle, I think you can clearly see again a bit more bluish kind of color on the Magic 5 Pro, which is a bit unrealistic because it didn't look like this. It's a bit too warm, a bit too yellowish on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but it's somewhere in between, which is right. Let's take a look at the detail levels here. What we can see here, yes, both relatively sharp here, but here it's getting a bit soft on the Magic 5 Pro, where the iPhone keeps it a bit sharper. Detail levels, I think the iPhone also has a little bit more details there. It could be noise as well, because it's creeping in very quickly on the iPhone. But we can see chromatic aberrations that we don't see on the iPhone so much. And it's getting clearly softer here towards the edges. And we have a little bit of a bluish kind of color here as well, which we don't have here. And it's a bit sharper as well on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And the same goes to the other end. When we go to the window there, for example, it appears to be a bit sharper there on the iPhone as well. So overall, I would say this ultra-wide angle is a clear win for the iPhone. It has the better ultra-wide angle, even though it is not as wide as the Magic 5 Pro. So there's a 1mm difference. It's 14 on the iPhone. It's 13, is it? Yeah, 13 on the Magic 5 Pro. So yeah, that's the difference there. Main camera sensor here, I think the Magic 5 Pro nailed the colors a bit better. It's just too warm on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and a little bit too much shadows lifted there as well, which looks a bit unrealistic. Also, the car here, for example, the WDR, which is like a television station here, has blue letters and not this like darkish kind of letters that we can see on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In terms of detail levels here, again, I think very, very close together. But when we go in here, what we can clearly see is it looks good on the iPhone. It's 24 megapixels. But when we compare it with the Magic 5 Pro, the Magic 5 Pro appears to be crispier, a bit sharper there. It might be a little bit more sharpening added there. We can also try to zoom in one step, which makes it on par almost with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro Max then appears to be a bit crispier there, because it has 24 megapixels, so it is beating the Magic 5 Pro in this regard, but it is not the sensor that is better there. I would say, I could argue that it might be even the same sensor that they're using. Is just a software difference here. You can see detail level there on par. So overall, I would give both of the sensors the same kind of rating in this regard. Yes, we have a higher resolution on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but it does not make the picture really, really a lot sharper there. 5 times versus 3.5 times zoom, you can see a bit of a color shift on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, much brighter there. But you will see that the Magic 5 Pro, when I go to 5 times, has the same kind of issue. Detail level is basically on par. Maybe, I think, a tiny bit softer on the iPhone 15 Pro Max at 5 times zoom, where you can clearly see the Magic 5 Pro keeps it a bit more in there. And the bokeh is a bit creamy on the Magic 5 Pro. It's a bit more busy on the iPhone. I think noise is creeping in already there. But at 5 times versus 5 times, this is 5 times now cropped in on the Magic 5 Pro. Yes, you can clearly see then it's a win for the iPhone with a bit more crispier details there. And the bokeh I still like a bit better on the Magic 5 Pro, to be completely honest. It's a bit more creamy, but the detail and sharpness level is very, very close, as you can see here, with artificial sharpening and more artificial look on the Magic 5 Pro, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a bit better. Another shot here, 5 times versus 3.5 times. We can clearly see again the color difference, much warmer colors here on the iPhone, much cooler on the Magic 5 Pro. I think the Magic 5 Pro is here more right in this regard because the weather changed to much colder and rainy kind of weather. And here we can clearly see it's soft. Both struggle a bit. Both have the same kind of issue. So I would say both sensors in terms of zoom on the same level. Yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max has a 5 times zoom, which gives you a bit more reach there for sure, but the quality of the zoom is almost on par with a 3.5 times zoom on the Magic 5 Pro. I don't see much of a difference. I would even argue sometimes it appears to be a bit sharper on the Magic 5 Pro, but it could be, of course, sharpening as well. And definitely when we like go, let's just jump to like roughly the same kind of 5 times, which is just a crop here, and you can see how close they are. So in general, I would give both zooms the same kind of number there in terms of end result for the zoom, probably later on in my conclusion. Both here a bit over sharpened, here a bit less sharpened, but it is still also over sharpening things up. Very, very close in this regard. Now let's go to the portrait shots. Very interesting because you can see what the Magic 5 Pro is doing here, much more yellowish and lifting up shadows much more than the iPhone 15 Pro Max is doing. And yeah, it's a bit more, it's a different kind of angle that you can see here because we have 2 times crop here in portrait mode on both, but the Magic 5 Pro is cropping in from 27 millimeters, so we are a bit closer in there. And I think I was standing at a different position there as well. Otherwise, yeah, nice and sharp, maybe a bit of beautifying my face there, where the iPhone is not doing this so much, keeps the shadows there. Which one would you prefer in this regard here? We have a bit of noise on the iPhone, where here it's smoothing things out. This might be the reason why my skin is a bit more cleaner there, looking on the Magic 5 Pro. In terms of bokeh, I think both doing a very fine job, and we have a bit of better HDR here, where here it's a bit overexposed on the Magic 5 Pro. So I would say, yeah, both on par in this regard at 2 times zoom. This is why I think they probably use the same sensor, just different processing. Now we come to 5 times that we have as a portrait on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The Magic 5 Pro ends at 2 times portrait, so it has only 1 time portrait and 2 times portrait. It's not able to use the 3.5 times zoom lens, which is totally not understandable for me, because it can produce nice shots like here. This is now done without the portrait mode, with the normal photo mode, and you can clearly see, yeah, sharpness is there. We have even a little bit of natural bokeh in this case. It's not artificial bokeh, it's natural bokeh there, which is also pretty nice, and it looks pretty nice as well. So I would even argue here hair color is a bit less contrasty than here. It looks a bit nicer than on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I can also go to 5 times zoom, which is like a crop in of the 3.5 times zoom, and still with the lifted shadows and so on, detail levels, especially in this little indoor situation, a bit more noise creeping in, a tiny bit less like artificial looking eyebrows there on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but very, very close. So even in portrait modes, I would give them equal points regarding this. So what is your opinion about both here? Let's check out the macro modes. Macro modes is quite interesting because this is, I think, one win for the iPhone 15 Pro Max that always had good macro shots. And here with this kind of macro mode, this is like when they first kick in the macro mode from the main camera sensors, automatically they're kicking in both. This is what the iPhone can achieve. This is what the Magic 5 Pro can achieve. A bit further away with the Magic 5 Pro, which is interesting because usually it is the different way around, but for some reason it was kicking in earlier here. But you can see it's not as sharp as the iPhone here. All the little dips here on this little plastic that make it feel a little bit better on this, Xiaomi camera grip here, Xiaomi 13 Ultra camera grip. And I can get even closer. This is the closest I can get with both. You can clearly see, yes, they look very, very identical. But when I go to 100% view, you can clearly see, yes, the iPhone nailed it again with all these little details, where the Magic 5 Pro is a bit unsharp there for sure. And not really has any sharpness, even though it was confirming that it is sharp. So yes, this is a clear win on macro photography with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but the Magic 5 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max also have an ace up its sleeve. They can use their telezooms for macro-like shots as well. And this is what I tried here. This is 5 times zoom with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can get very close to objects there, like my little Moondrop space travel true wireless headsets here, and it doesn't look so pleasant. Let's compare it. This is 10 times with the Magic 5 Pro, because it has a 10 times button, so I can get even closer and more, like only one earbud here in this case. But let's go to 3.5 times. This time I was like moving up closer a bit because I can move up a bit closer. Let's compare them. So this is like moving up closer a bit. This is like going a bit further away because this is 5 times. This is 3.5 times zoom. I have to say that they're very, very close in this regard. I think you can clearly see that the iPhone is still making everything a bit more yellowish here, where the Magic 5 Pro is doing it better. Also here, the text much more clearly readable than on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So when it comes to close-up shots or macro-like shots with a tele camera, then I would say the Magic 5 Pro has an ace up its sleeve there and an advantage over the iPhone 15 Pro Max that also can perform very good, very, very well. Here you can see little details, even like a little bit like dust particles that you can see that are like a little bit more hidden here on the Magic 5 Pro, and both have chromatic aberrations, a bit more pronounced probably on the Magic 5 Pro. But here you can see a little, I have to clean this up when I'm just like, you have to photograph your gear a little bit more carefully to just see all the little dust particles and hairs that are lying on this. It will be immediately cleaned up. Anyway, let's talk about the close focusing distance with the main camera sensor. And here I'm pretty surprised because I thought they have maybe the same kind of sensor, but they have probably a different lens, because here I can get a bit closer with the Magic 5 Pro, not only because it is cropped in from 24 to 27 millimeter. This is not everything there that you can clearly see here, but also the bokeh you can clearly see is much more pronounced here on the Magic 5 Pro. Yes, the close focusing distance is a bit better on the Magic 5 Pro. In terms of detail level here, both on par. The iPhone has a bit more contrasty kind of look. Here looks like a bit like, but here you can also clearly see the bokeh, how smooth it looks like on the Magic 5 Pro. That's really, really cool. Looking there, and all this dust particles you can also see there on both. It's like if you have like such an opening and not like a closed headphone enclosure or case, then it's meant to be like this probably after a few times you shoved it in your pocket. Anyway, so this is my daylight camera comparison. I have to say, colors, most of the time the iPhone 15 Pro Max nailed it a bit better. Ultra wide angle is a win for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, also in terms of macro capabilities, but zoom is equal, and when it comes to the main sensor, also very equal. What do you think?
Nighttime video now with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. What do you think about this one? Using the internal microphones here, walking towards the light right now. What do you think about this one in terms of stabilization, in terms of colors and so on? And I'm just crossing the street, going to the dark now with the light in the background. How does it look like right now? 4K 30 frames per second, but I think it is like changing the frame rate to 4K 24 frames per second. Now the light is facing me, dark in the background. How does it look like? What do you think? And walking towards the light, and then also turning now and walking towards the dark part with the light in the background, and then here in the dark. And we have even a special mode, which is video night mode, and I will try it out as well. Be 30 frames, no, 1080p 24 frames per second. So walking towards the light, how does it handle this? And now with the light in the background, how does it handle this? Right now, what do you think about the 1080p 24 frames per second on the Honor Magic 5 Pro, the night mode video?
Nighttime photos, I only took a few of them because I didn't have much time with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Nevertheless, here are the shots. The main sensor shot, you can see a bit brighter exposure, a bit more yellowish eventually on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, a bit more bluish, and a bit darker on the Magic 5 Pro. One interesting fact is when you take a look at the metadata is we have the night mode here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max that took like 3 seconds to take this shot, where the Magic 5 Pro immediately took the shot. So 1/2 of a second, the exposure time here it says. We have f1.8 versus f1.6. we have 1/16 of a second only exposure on the Magic 5 Pro, way higher ISO, so it was not using any night mode of some sorts. And the iPhone 15 Pro Max tried to reduce the noise by using a lower ISO here. But when we take a look at the detail levels, what we can clearly see is that it's a bit blurry on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and definitely clearer on the Magic 5 Pro. Look at the license plate, clearly visible here on the Magic 5 Pro and readable. And especially also the bush here in the foreground, where you can clearly see this is like modern art on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, very soft. And the Magic 5 Pro has lots of detail there. Yes, it is a bit of sharpening and processed looking, but still it is much clearer overall here, this shot, in comparison to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I think it had something to do with the light here, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max maybe had some issue detecting the focus in between all the shots that it did, where the Magic 5 Pro didn't have this issue. In general, however, the softness of the iPhone 15 Pro Max is all over there, especially when it gets very dark, where the Magic 5 Pro is winning definitely. In more brighter situations, it's much, much closer. Let's take a look at the zoom shots, 5 times versus 3.5 times. We don't have to have a competition here because it is clear you can read stuff here. It is noisy for sure, but the Magic 5 Pro has like a very, very weak sensor here in comparison that cannot compete against the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Look at this modern art piece here, where here you can still see that this is a bush. And yeah, the same goes for the ultra wide angle, not only brighter exposure on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where it also took like a little bit longer to shoot this, where the Magic 5 Pro had, I think, a 1 second exposure only for the ultra wide angle. But we have a lot more details on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, a lot more processed looking on the Magic 5 Pro. It tried to rescue everything here, where the iPhone kept the noise a little bit in there. It is not good for an ultra wide angle. You can see how soft it is, but it's definitely better than the Magic 5 Pro that appears to be a little bit sharper, but this is artificial sharpening and there's a lot less details. Look at this fence there and the bags there. You can see that these are 4 bags here, where here it looks like one bag almost. So it's like denoising heavily on the Magic 5 Pro, and then everything becomes a little bit mushy. And here we have a little bit noise, so you can see a bit more detail, maybe artificial detail, but still the ultra wide angle is a win for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Selfies, I took them indoors because outdoors it was starting to rain. A very interesting approach, because the iPhone 15 Pro Max had some kind of night mode kicking in. So there was like the timer from, I think it was 1.5 seconds running there, and it was flashing the screen in a bright yellowish kind of way, where we have like the background also like exposed right now. On the Magic 5 Pro, it was like brightening everything around my little face. Basically, this part here was cut out and the rest was brightened up, so the display was always on and it just took the shot. And I think it was also using 1.5 seconds roughly, because it was not showing any timer or anything. It just had a little pop-up that says, please stay still, I'm sharpening things up, or something like this. And what is very interesting is you have this typical flash kind of look on the Magic 5 Pro, like a flash would like fire off, where it was not firing a flash actually. What is very interesting as well is that it's very soft and less detailed on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where the Magic 5 Pro looks a bit more artificially sharpened up, especially my eyebrows. You can see some pixels and so on. But I prefer the Magic 5 Pro here. In this case, it looks a bit more flash-like, yeah, but when I have to cut out some stuff or so, and here the background is a bit distracting, I would take the Magic 5 Pro in this regard. Yes, my eyes are a bit artificial for sure, so they were like using paint or something like this to repaint my eyes and everything. But in this case, I would prefer the Magic 5 Pro in this dark situation for selfie taking. And again, 5 versus 3.5 times. Here, I think only the Magic 5 Pro has one advantage in terms of color, because it got the color right, where we have a greenish kind of hue on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, lots of grain there, but you can read it, where on the Magic 5 Pro you can read anything there. Even if I go to 5 times zoom, you can see it is not really readable. There's not much noise, because denoising algorithm is killing all the noise, but nevertheless, I think the iPhone 15 Pro Max is taking the crown for the zoom and ultra wide angle shots. I'm a bit surprised by the selfie and the main camera shots because I thought the iPhone 15 Pro Max would be at least on par with the Magic 5 Pro there, but I think at least in the main camera shots the Magic 5 Pro is the clear winner here with more details, more sharpness, more clarity. Yes, a bit of artificial things as well there, but the clarity is also there and it looks a bit better on the Magic 5 Pro with the main camera night shots. When it comes to the selfies, I'm also surprised that the Magic 5 Pro is pulling one off here against the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But overall, in general, this is like so close together that I'm only giving like 0.1 point more maybe to the Magic 5 Pro. So these are the night photos and my conclusion. Let's take a look at the summary, the score, and here you can see the ratings of both. And yeah, spoiler alert, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is winning against the Honor Magic 5 Pro in this comparison. As you can see here, 4.4 points, and the Honor Magic 5 Pro has 4.3599999 points. And yeah, what led to this conclusion is, yes, the main camera is a bit better on the Magic 5 Pro in comparison to the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is a hair better. You can see it especially at night times, but also at daytime photography. I think the Honor Magic 5 Pro is doing quite a good job and sometimes even a little bit better job than the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is why it's a little bit better there. Ultra wide angle is a bit worse on the Honor Magic 5 Pro. You can see it definitely at nighttime. At daylight, it's almost on par, but I think the iPhone is a little bit better there with the ultra wide angle. Zoom cameras, I would give it equal terms. We have a 5 times zoom and we have a 3.5 times zoom. The in-between zooms are both bad. Yes, the 3.5 times zoom in theory should be better for portraits, but the Honor Magic 5 Pro doesn't support the 3.5 times zoom lens for portrait. And when you compare the detail level 5 times versus 3.5 times, they are on par. There's not much of a difference. Just in nighttime, the iPhone 15 Pro Max has a big advantage over the 3.5 times zoom there, but not a big of an advantage that will lead here for the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max zoom cam to beat hands down the Honor Magic 5 Pro. Video recording quality is clear here. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is much better, especially in terms of colors and color rendition there. The Honor Magic 5 Pro is falling a little bit behind here in this regard. It's 4.3 points here. It's also a little bit worse than the Honor Magic, Huawei Mate 50 Pro here. So I think they really have to improve a little bit there in terms of color rendition and not over sharpen everything. It's a bit sometimes too sharp. Yes, you can get like into pro mode, you can get into movie mode, and then it's getting a bit softer and you can get different kind of color profiles. You can even record log on both. But this is something where what I would put into extra features, where I also put like a lot of points for the Honor Magic 5 Pro that has those options. Sadly, no possibility to externally record anything on a nano SD or on nano memory or a micro SD card. When it comes to the autofocus, it's almost on par, but sometimes the Honor Magic 5 Pro misses the autofocus a little bit there. This is why we have one slight point less here. Front cam is very interesting because here the iPhone is a little bit better thanks to the autofocus. At night, however, I like the Magic 5 Pro a bit better. And in video recording, you also saw, yeah, it was okay. I liked it a little bit better. So occasionally it can be better, especially with the possibility to zoom in and out there. But overall, I think the front cam, especially when it comes to the HDR and so on, is better on the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. Camera UI is clear. The iPhone has a very simple, basic camera UI. 4.2 points is good, but the Honor Magic 5 Pro has a bit more options, a bit more features there in the camera UI, and is easier to handle maybe with things that are clearly labeled, and you don't have to play the guessing game there so much. And extra features I already told you about. So what does this mean? Let's go to the ranking list. Here you can see the ranking list. Nothing really big has changed there. The Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max is still on 3rd place together with the Huawei P60 Pro, and the Magic 5 Pro is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, the 6th place, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, 7th place actually. The Honor Magic 5 Pro here, as you can see here, yeah, basically what I told you about already We have a very good main sensor on the Honor Magic 5 Pro, but the ultra wide angle is a little bit like weak here. Zoom camera quality could be a little bit better, but it's okay still. Video recording quality is something where they could have improved this even with software updates to have a bit of better rendering in the default camera application. I know you can get better footage out of it if you choose like pro modes and movie mode and so on, and log format and so on, but the main camera video mode should have the correct colors and not so much like fake colors. And I think if Oppo can improve on it, then Honor can also improve on it. Autofocus performance, maybe they can also fix a little bit up there, hopefully with the Magic 6 Pro. Front camera, I like, not much of a problem there with this one. Maybe adding autofocus would help as well to get a bit more points there. And yeah, the rest, like extra features, add some extra features, tons of extra features. I always like extra features like zebras and, for example, also focus peaking, such things, external recording. Even if you put a USB thumb drive or external USB SSD on it, it would be also cool to have such a feature. Otherwise, what do you think? So the Honor Magic 5 Pro is falling behind the iPhone 15 Pro Max here, but it's not so far off. And if you only take like photos with the main camera, it even is a bit better there. Yeah, what do you think? Write it down in the comments. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, bye.